Welcome back to T Radio V. You like my new voice now? I'm Vikram Singh. I've changed my name. No, not really. I'm Ted Astorgado, and now we're shifting gears for a dose of pop culture with one of my colleagues from popdose.com, Scott Malkus. Hello, Scott. How are you, man? I think.
How are you, Ted?
I'm doing great. And we have watched the movie Prometheus. I haven't seen the DVD release yet, but I'm a huge fan of Alien and Aliens. After that, the series went to shit, and it was horrible. But I was really excited about Prometheus when I saw the trailer and I heard that it was announced. And it was for a summer release, and then I was all excited. I go up to the theater, and I pay my $10. I go and I sit down, and 2 hours later, I walk out of there, and my fanboy bubble is burst. I'm just like, what the hell was that? Did you have the same reaction?
I don't think you were the only one that felt that way. Yeah, oh yeah,
I was the only one. Okay.
No, you were not the only
one. Oh, good. Okay.
Jesus Christ.
You felt that way.
I did. I saw the movie, and I was like you. I was, thrilled. I mean, hey, it's Ridley Scott returning back to Alien. He kind of started that whole crazy revamping of sci-fi. It was more of a reality-based sci-fi.
Right. It was gritty.
It was gritty. It was scary as hell. It was a great.
Well, it had so many surprises. Who knew this thing was going to first face hug you, and then something would burst out of your chest? Yeah,
all that stuff was awesome, and so of course everybody's excited. I saw the movie in 3D in IMAX, and in 3D and IMAX it looked great. If you didn't pay attention to the script, hey, you had a great time. But the problems.
So it's a visual feast. It is a sonic feast, but as far as a story, it was a dud.
It was, and I think the problem lies, and I think you get this from the commentary, is you had two different writers with two different visions of what the movie was supposed to be. So you had a guy named John Spates who wrote the first script, and his original vision was to make a true prequel to the movie Alien, and that script had a lot of aliens in it, facehuggers, chest bursts, and all that stuff. And then Ridley Scott gave the script over to Damon Lindelof, the guy who worked on Lost.
Yeah, wasn't he like one of the head writers on Lost?
He was one of the head writers, and he co-created the show.
Okay.
So Lindelof took over, and he had different ideas, and he wanted to explore different questions, philosophical questions about where we come from, who are we, those type of things, which are great. But what he did to the movie was not make it about an alien. It was now about a totally different concept altogether. I'm repeating myself. It was a totally different concept altogether, and so the end result is this kind of philosophical movie about the people that the race of aliens that supposedly created humans, with aliens thrown in there as just like a little tag. I mean, supposedly the aliens, I don't want to give it, I'm sorry people for hearing this, but the aliens are supposedly these death creatures that were created to destroy civilizations that they have deemed not meaningful enough or good enough. That's one of the things that kind of comes out in the end of the movie and in commentary.
Well, that was the thing.
The two don't just suppose well.
Well, when the DVD release was announced that they were going to add a lot of extra footage and there was going to be 1 billion hours worth of commentary or something, that if you really wanted to get deep into the thickets with this, that you could. Now, you went through, and because you had to review this for PopDose, you went through and you watched all the deleted scenes, you listened to the commentary by the director and the writer, and that's where it was sort of revealed the motivations of the characters, but this never ended up on the screen.
No, it didn't, and it really didn't reveal. I mean, it kind of revealed a little bit more about the Charlize Theron character. The problems with this all along is, like, for instance, one of the characters, he's played by Logan Marshall Green. He's the fellow scientist who just makes the discovery with Noomi Rapace. I think that's her name. Sorry if I'm screwing up. But they're the two that make the discovery at the beginning of the movie that there's this supposed message from an alien race, and they're inviting them into outer space. So he's all excited. They've made this discovery of a lifetime, that there might be life somewhere out there in the universe. And they go out there, they discover one of these beings. Unfortunately, it's dead. And what does he do? He pouts. I mean, really? You're a scientist and you're going to pout. And so then he gets drunk, and somehow his drunken, pouty, loudish behavior manages to seduce her strong-willed, independent-thinking woman. And where
Right.
I don't know. I'm married. You're married, Ted.
Yeah.
I mean, if I were pouting and I was drunk, my wife would tell me to go sleep on the couch for the night. But this guy manages to not only bed his girlfriend, but to impregnate her with an alien spawn. And it's like the whole setup seems to be, hey, why don't we have a cool scene where she has to, perform a cesarean section on herself and pull this alien thing out of her.
Well, that was probably one of the best
whatsoever.
scenes. I mean, I really liked that scene. I mean, it was totally unnecessary, but it was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And I kind of, roused me out of my sleep at that point.
Yeah, I mean, the whole movie is kind of full of these really cool moments that just have no point, and it's a drag because it looks great. The leads are awesome. Michael Fassbender is, a god as far as I'm concerned. He's had, what a year he had acting. Idris Elba, fantastic, but it's just like all wasted. And getting back to, the DVD release, the Blu-ray release, I reviewed the two disc thing that came out. It's just a DVD and a Blu-ray, and the label on there clearly says, questions will be answered. And I went into it looking for these answers, and they aren't there. But if you do a little more, digging around.
I was going to say that's never a good thing when they have to put a label on there. Questions will be answered.
Well, yeah. Well, that to me, that's like, well, if you're telling us the questions are going to have to be answered, why weren't they answered in the first place?
Exactly.
Because one of the points I make is like, they do this commentary like, a month after the movie's completed, before it's even in a theater sometimes. And if they're already having to explain the movie that people haven't seen, then they haven't done their job in the first place. But then I found out that there's a 4-disc version of Prometheus that is available, and it has a full DVD of like a 4-hour documentary on it, where everybody, it's like from pre-production all the way to the completion of production, and that might be where the answers are. Now I didn't see that, but that's like, well, what a ripoff,
Yeah.
If you want the answers, you got to shell out the big bucks, So,
well, how much is this 4-disc DVD? It's got to be like got to be over $75 or something.
Oh, I'm sure it's more than that. I think, yeah, it's pretty expensive, and so it's like it's like putting that label on the 2-disc thing is almost like being a political candidate who's saying, "Oh, you'll get my answers once you put me in office." It's like.
Finally, I wanted to find out.
We haven't heard that this year.
We never heard that. I haven't heard that. That was the first time. That was novel, what you just said. So what I wanted to ask you, we're unfortunately hitting our time wall, and we just got started, it seemed like. But the deleted scenes that they added, did they add anything to the film, or were they just filler?
No. There's a different opening where they show more of these engineers coming out. And basically, there's like a whole bunch of engineers who kind of pat the guy on the back at the beginning who drinks the fluid and then dies and becomes human DNA. I'm like, well, that didn't provide anything. And then there's a little bit at the end where there's a little more dialogue between the creator or this engineer and Fassbender's android character. But it's just that stuff doesn't do anything. There are some bonus features on it that they came up with some promo stuff for the movie that they released on the internet, and that stuff all looked like Blade Runner. I mean, all these little featurettes looked like, hey, the future is here, there's androids, and all this really cool shot stuff, and it's like, those are included, and I'm like, oh my God, why didn't they make a movie instead of this kind of hybrid thing with aliens? And
it was a muddled mess. I mean, I agree. I think that there was a lot of promise going into it, certainly a lot of money, but ultimately the product that they turned out was just, well, I'll just say it was crap. I didn't really like it. I was very, very very disappointed. I can't just express my disappointment any more than that. But Scott, I want to thank you for being a guest on American Liberal. Read Scott's work on popdose.com and follow us on Facebook or Twitter, T-Radio-V American Liberal on Facebook and am_liberal on Twitter. Thanks again.
T-Radio-V